Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about the Washington football team's vaccination situation, and I'll also be talking about the memo that the NFL just put out that states that if there is an outbreak which causes a game to be canceled amongst unvaccinated players, that team will be forced to forfeit their game. So that's some big news. So we'll talk about that in today's video. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. I'm almost to 6,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. So let's get right into the video. And I'll also talk about how this new memo could affect the Washington football team. And I know this is a controversial topic, so just bear with me, and I know not everyone is going to agree with what I have to say, but just listen to the whole video and then go ahead and comment your thoughts down below. Okay, so first I will read the memo that the NFL put out, and then we'll talk about the vaccination rates of the Washington football team, because we actually have that here. So I'll read this right here from Tom Pelissero. The NFL just informed clubs that if a game cannot be rescheduled during the 18-week season in 2021 due to an outbreak among unvaccinated players, the team with the outbreak will forfeit and be credited with a loss for playoff seeding. So that is huge because obviously last season that did not happen. They rescheduled games, and obviously because there was no vaccine, so this was not an option. They just rescheduled games and kept on rescheduling them until they could play them. They did not cancel any games. And I'll read some more from it right here. He said, here's more from today's memo, which also says that teams responsible for a canceled game because of an outbreak among unvaccinated players will be responsible for financial losses and subject to potential discipline from the commissioner. So that right there is absolutely huge, because that's pretty much saying they're going to be paying for the financial losses due to that game being canceled. So all the revenue from that game, if it's an away game for a team and that team had the outbreak amongst unvaccinated players, they might have to pay for the lost ticket revenue, because the tickets will probably get refunded, all the lost revenue that people would be buying food and other stuff in the stadium. So it is a big deal, and the NFL really wants all these players and coaches to get vaccinated, because of course they do not want to lose money. They don't want games to get canceled this year. Even though last year there weren't any games canceled, they had to reschedule a bunch of games. So I'll read a little bit more here. The league intends to play its entire 272 game schedule over 18 weeks. And this is the key. We do not anticipating adding a 19th week to accommodate games that cannot be rescheduled within the current 18 weeks of the regular season. So pretty much play on time or don't play. So, and here's some other quick stuff before we get to the Washington football team. Vaccinated individuals who test positive and are asymptomatic can return to duty after 2 negative tests 24 hours apart. Unvaccinated individuals are subject to 10-day isolation period. You guys can read some of this, the rest of this right here. So it is some big stuff, because I feel like a lot of players now are going to get forced from their coach, not forced obviously, but really encouraged from their coaches and others to get vaccinated, because whether you do like it or not, you're at a disadvantage if your team is under 50% or even under 85%, which is the threshold right now that they want you to be at. Washington, though, was amongst one of the lowest vaccination rates. They were, I think, under 50% for a while. They're actually at 36% a couple weeks ago, but now they're over 50%. And I'll read this tweet right here from JP Finley. The Washington football team vaccination rate is moving up per sources, and is now between 50 and 60%. There's optimism that things will continue trending up as the team heads to Richmond for training camp. So they were amongst the two worst teams, them and the Colts in terms of their vaccination rate. And one thing I will say, though, the Washington football team last year handled this, virus and pandemic pretty well. They only had 2 cases for the whole year, and that was Matt Ioannidis, who was on IR, and then Javon Leake, who I do think was right before we signed him. So they handled it pretty well, and if they can do that again, it shouldn't be a huge issue. But here's the only thing I will say. The NFL, of course, wants players to get vaccinated, so they're giving players who are not vaccinated things like they're not allowed to when they're at hotels, they have to pretty much stay in the hotel the whole time. They can't go out to clubs and stuff. And I think that that's going to be hard for unvaccinated players to do when half the team or 75% of the team is going out on to the club or something at night, and those players have to stay. I don't know, we will see. But yes, the Washington football team definitely handled this pretty well last year, so it is a competitive disadvantage if these teams are below 85%. So it is good to hear that the Washington football team is going up, because you do not want to have a game where or you don't want to have an outbreak and be forced to forfeit a game, or even if it's not even that bad of an outbreak but a couple players have it, then that if you have to those are key players, like someone like Chase Young or any one of our top players have to miss a game. That's going to be really unfortunate for us, especially we're trying to make the playoffs for the second year in a row, which hasn't happened in so long for the Washington football team. So we'll see how this situation progresses. I think after hearing this, a lot of players are going to feel pressured to get vaccinated. Whether that's right or wrong for them to feel pressured, it's probably going to happen. And one thing, before I share my thoughts on this, I thought this is a good point from Albert Breer. He says, and guess what? If you're a bubble player and you're not vaccinated, and the guy you're competing with for a spot is, I think we know what's going to happen. And I think that is a good point, because especially someone like Washington, who's let's say at the end they're like at 75 or 80%. If they're trying to get over that 85% threshold, which really I don't know the specifics, but you're allowed to do a lot more things as a team, as a unit. So if they if it comes to that, they might keep the guy who is vaccinated versus who isn't. And one last thing is whatever our rate is right now, it could drastically change once we cut down to 53 people, because obviously we're at 90 players. We're at like a 91 man roster right now, so we're going to cut down to a 53 man roster in a month or so, a little bit a month and a half. So this the rates that we have right now could drastically change, could increase or could decrease depending on if the players that they cut are vaccinated or aren't vaccinated. So we will see. This is an important storyline to keep your eye out for in the next few weeks. Ron Rivera, I definitely think the media is going to ask a lot of questions to these players. We already heard about Montez Sweat. We'll hear what others have to say in the next couple weeks. We got training camp next week. I am super excited, so we'll probably hear about that then. And I think it's good for these players to get vaccinated, because not only does it help them, but also helps the team in terms of they will be less likely to have to forfeit games or have players miss games due to the virus. So we'll see. I want to despite your view either way, I want to hear what you guys have to say down in the comments below. Do you think the Washington football team will be able to get over that 85% threshold by the start of the season? And do you think this is a big issue? So I want to hear what you guys have to say. Like I said, down below in the comments section. Subscribe if you guys are new. Hit that like button. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I have a couple of streams lined up, really good ones in the next few days, especially leading up to training camp. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.